This student thought the Bible came from the Dead Sea Scrolls, but Cliff clears it up fast.
So all these things that you're saying are based off of the Bible, correct? I'm saying like all these
historical details about Jesus. That comes from the Gospels.
From the Bible.
Yep.
And the Bible was transcribed from the Dead Sea Scrolls?
No. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found in the 1940s. The Bible that we have in English today is based on Greek manuscripts for the New Testament, dated from the 2nd through the 10th century AD, long before the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered.
So what are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
All right, what the Dead Sea Scrolls do, a little shepherd boy was out in the desert throwing rocks, and he threw them into a cave and heard some clattering, and he went in there, and there were some jars with manuscripts in them. The earliest are from 100 BC to about 100 AD. What the Dead Sea Scrolls showed us is that the earliest copies that we had of Isaiah, a book in the Old Testament, which was from 900 AD, was spot on. Because in the Dead Sea Scrolls, we have a copy of Isaiah that's from 100 BC.
So it's like reaffirming.
Yes.
Okay, so
the Old Testament.
But the Dead Sea Scroll. Oh, so the Old Testament.
Right, not the New.
Okay. So what's the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament?
Good. The Old Testament is the history of the Jewish people up to about 400 BC. Then the New Testament begins about 5 BC and goes to about 95 AD.
So the New Testament is not based on the Old Testament?
Well, no, it's not based on the Old Testament in terms of its history, because it's history after the Old
I'm
Testament.
saying like all the things of how the world was created.
No, Jesus agreed with the Old Testament. Jesus treated the Old Testament as reliable.
Okay, so he based his facts off of the Old Testament, which was brought from the Dead Sea Scrolls.
No, we have Hebrew manuscripts that we had the Old Testament long before 1940s when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. The Dead Sea Scrolls simply affirmed that what we had in Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament was reliable. That's all it did.
Well, so I was under the understanding of that the Bible that we have today is some interpretation of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Whoever told you that was blowing smoke in your face. I'm sorry to say.
So it has nothing to do with the Dead Sea Scrolls?
No, the New Testament that we have today has zero to do with the Dead Sea Scrolls. It is based on over 5,200 Greek manuscripts or pieces of manuscript. The oldest is in the John Rylands Museum in Manchester, England. It's a fragment of the Gospel of John dated between 110 and 130 AD. And you see that one manuscript find, it's just a part of the Gospel of John, smashed the whole school of thought that was taught on every major American university campus, that the Gospels were not written until the 300s, 400s, 500s, 600s. Baloney. The Gospels were written in the 1st century, and the reason we know that is because archaeologists found a fragment of the Gospel of John. It's in the John Rylands Museum in Manchester, England, and is dated between 110 and 130 AD.